Hello, another video. Another video on a customer's car. Something we don't really see too much of nowadays, let alone see many of them in such factory form too. Not only is this one a S14, it's also engine new 200SX factory turbo. By the looks of it, and from what I know, it hasn't had a whole lot modified on it. See, obviously it's got the front mount intercooler, but it's still even got the factory wheels on it. It's got the factory 4-pot front calipers on it. Single pots on the rear, but still 5-stud all round, being factory turbo one. What gets me with it is not only how tidy it is, but also the paint on it. I've seen plenty of white S14s, but this one, I don't know if it's coming out on video, it's got quite a heavy pearl and it looks pretty good, especially out in the sun. So body wise is pretty factory. I'm not sure what it's got in the way of front bumper because it was dropped off without that. Factory ride height, factory wheels, factory rear bumper, big shotgun exhaust tips on the back of it. I'm not sure what the wing is. I don't think it's factory. It sort of feels and sounds like fiberglass. So get around the driver's side, she's all still pretty straight too. Pretty cool to see one in this condition. Almost unheard of nowadays. Got a little ding on the driver's door, but nothing too serious. Pretty cool. Interior is pretty standard as well. It's got a gear knob on it and head unit. It's got this cool 3D printed boost gauge holder. It sits in the door vent there, so pretty cool. Not sure who's made that or if they're available to buy or not, but I thought it was pretty cool. See all the interiors, really tidy, stupidly tidy. It's up to 154,000 K, so still pretty low. Have a look under the bonnet. So a factory SR20 turbo. In terms of trans, like it's manual, but what are we, RE43010. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a auto trans code there, so must have been converted to manual. If it has been converted, it's been done really tidy. It's obviously got the factory manual gear sticks around there. And the firewall looks all pretty tidy for the nice cylinder too, so have a nosy underneath. So yeah, sound of the bonnet's all pretty factory. You got a pod filter, the front mount, fuel pressure regulator, some coil packs. It's got one of these quite tidy Phoenix alloy radiators with the shroud kit as well, so quite like those kits there, always look nice and tidy in there. Get rid of that big bulky viscous fan they have on them, from factory noisy things. So yeah, the story with this one is 2 cylinders are low in compression. I think one of them was 90 psi and one was 110 or something like that, around about there. The others were 150 odd, so the motor's a bit tired. Got a list of parts that are going to go into it. It's getting cams and valve springs and forged pistons and rods and bearings, everything that goes with it. So this is going to be a good one. Once the motor's back in there, it's getting an aftermarket exhaust manifold and bigger turbo and everything to suit it as well. I'm picking it'll be getting a link ECU or something along those lines, so be quite a good build to follow, this one. Especially because we don't get to sort of build them much nowadays. They all get built in people's garages at home, and we don't get to touch them too often. So I look forward to getting into it. So we'll get it up on the hoist and we'll have a nosy underneath it. Alright, up on the hoist we can have a good look at her. So we see that front mount intercooler kit there. Right, while I've got it there, I'll make up a better lower mount for it. See that bolt's taking a bit of a beating. Bolt's actually missing out of there, so she's just flopping around a bit. I thought it was factory ride height, but it may be lowered slightly. See, she's got some green lowering springs in there. The rest of it all looks pretty good and tidy and still in factory form. But yeah, like I say, it's not something you see nowadays. It's got a factory turbo on there. It's got quite a nice stainless exhaust that goes from the downpipe back all the way along. Got those big shotgun tips at the back. I love that. See, she's got a broken exhaust hanger there, so chuck a new one of those on there while it's here. And got those green springs in the back. Subframe bush is done. It's quite a common issue in a car of this age. There's that diff look. Oh, yep. Still nice and tight. See some new drive shaft bolts there, so that sort of indicates the trans has been out. I also noticed that it's got sort of different bolts everywhere all over the gearbox, so I'll check with the owner, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's been manual converted, which is not a bad thing. All the floor rails look nice and straight too, which is good to see. All the sills aren't all bent over and rusty, so also good to see. Yeah, it's definitely looking pretty good under here. Right, well, my job on this one's to get this motor out of it, so I'm getting the motor out and then the car's getting picked up to get some suspension work done on it, so normally I'd whip the motor out and leave the trans in there, but because it's been picked up and taken away, I'll just take the trans right out. At least then that'll get some new fluid and a clean up and stuff once the motor goes back in. Not going to hurt, so I'll start by draining all the fluids. You've got the I'll drain the power steer fluid, engine oil, gearbox oil, and the coolant out of it, and then we'll get to stripping the gearbox out of it first. So I'll go ahead and get all that drained out and make a start. Right, just got the exhaust off. Nothing unusual up in there. I've just got the coolant drain. That was looking pretty good. It obviously had new stuff put in there when that radiator kit was put in. So now I'm just gonna drain this gearbox oil. See how that looks, just for reference. Just know if there's any chunky bits on there, then we may need to address that. Nah, looks pretty good. Oil's nice and clean. Just the usual little bits on the magnet there. Nothing too untoward. Alright, so I'll get that slave cylinder off, 2 bolts there. Get the drive shaft off, it splits in half there. I'll just get that front half of the drive shaft off. Cross member. Once that oil's drained out, I'll just drop it down and get the gear stick out of it. A couple of plugs, power housing bolts, and she'll be out. Can't forget that. Job done. Right, so oil is all drained out, slave cylinder's off, I got that drive shaft off. I just got to get this gear stick out. Honestly, it's been so long since I've done one of these, I can't even remember how far we have to go with pulling everything out of here. It's heavy. It's a big solid bugger. If I remember right, we can pop that out and access everything. Yep, we can. Oh, sneaky little switch in there for something. Get that out of the way. Okay, sweet. So looks like it's just the 4 bolts holding the rubber boot in. Then there's the circlip that holds the gear stick into the gearbox. So I'll whip those out and get back underneath. And behind this little boot at the bottom of the gear stick, that's our circlip there. Can be a bit of a pain to get out. Let's also notice this all pressure gauge is also in a cool little 3D printed holder. And the other beauty with them, 260k speedo. Love to see it. Right, get this gear stick out and crack on. Right, we've got a big hole underneath here now. One gearbox sitting on the ground over here, looking nice and filthy, so it'd be good to give that a clean up before it goes back in. Still pretty sort of standy looking in there. Did notice when pulled the gearbox off there was a fair bit of furriness, as in clutch line everywhere. The old clutch is starting to smooth out a bit, so no way that's going to handle any more power. So we'll have to swap that out. There was talk of putting a heavy duty thing in there anyway. Not going for big power on this one, just a little more than factory. Just want to get the flywheel off as well. I just get the clutch and flywheel off, so this gives us a little more room against the firewall when we're pulling the motor out. But it's got some ARP bolts in there, and of course they're American made, so they're Imperial multi-hex, something I don't have, so I'll grab one of those sockets tomorrow to get that off. I'll call it a night now because it's almost 10 o'clock. It's a good start on it anyway, so obviously get the gearbox out, so I'll leave that coolant draining overnight just so we get most of it out and not make a mess pulling the motor out. And I'll drain the engine oil in the morning, drop it down and get everything disconnected. So yeah, we'll pick it back up again tomorrow morning. Righto, back into the Sylvia. The cooling system was drained overnight, and while I'd just got a few jobs done, I got just a couple of jobs sitting out there, so I got a few of them done this morning. Now we have a go at draining this oil. Now it's low on compression on 2 cylinders, so I'm picking it's blowing ringlands on the pistons, but you never know what could come out of here. Have a look, see if there's anything unusual. Have a look and a listen for metal bits hitting the thing. Oh, the oil is actually really clean. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much in there. No sort of metallic-y bits on the oil. Oh, I'll leave this up for a bit to drain out properly, because obviously need to get most of it out. The motor's been torn down, so need to drain away for a bit, and then while it's doing that I might start on whipping this intercooler off and getting some bits done under here. So go ahead and take the clamp off here. I have to take this one off at the intercooler and then unbolt the intercooler. Get all that off for a start. Sweet, so that's all off. Thought I had to take the headlights off to get the top mount bolts for the intercooler off. They were just under the edge of the headlight there. Probably not a bad thing because they're a glass headlight, so I'd rather not risk damaging them, so having them off is a good idea too. Main reason for taking the intercooler off is just so I don't accidentally put the engine crane through it. Takes 5 minutes to whip it off, so if it saves the intercooler, may as well. Now start working on the wiring and all the hoses and radiator and stuff, and get this ready to lift out of here. I'll set it up on a time lapse so you can see me do all of this in about 2 minutes. We'll get into it. pretty sure we've got everything unhooked and unbolted and disconnected from it. It's a little bit of a mess because it was auto. The old lot of the auto trans wiring loom is still there. It's piled up in there, so she's a little bit all tangled up under there. A few extra hoses and fuel lines and stuff for that fuel pressure regulator, but got there in the end. Next up is pull the bonnet off. Get that off without damaging anything, breaking the windscreen. Get that off, and then lift the motor out. So set you up so you can see that. All go on. And just like that, it's out. That was all easy enough. So before we send it off to the machine shop, we'll get the manifolds off, cam angle sensor out, all the brackets for the power steer, aircon. I think the alternator one's still on there. Yep, alternator one, we'll get that off. Engine mount, inlet manifold, strip it down so it's just a long block. I still haven't got that socket for those ARP flywheel bolts. Multi-hex Imperial, not something I have floating around. So I'll go ahead and get all that off and then get her dropped in. And just like that, she's all stripped out. I'll pretty much drop it in as it is. I'll just shoot in, get that bloody socket, get that off, and she's good to go. I look forward to seeing it cleaned up because there's 30 years of nastiness on there. Also, the level of satisfaction is going to be through the roof giving this a clean up. Bloody oily grime, garbage everywhere. Yeah, so I'll get that dropped in to the engine builder tomorrow. That'll be it on this one for now until that comes back. There are a few things I'm gonna recommend we swap out while the motor's out. Just things that'll give it a good general tidy up under here. Right, so I'll get that dropped in, and I suppose if there's any before the motor gets back, if there's anything to update on, I'll post something. But other than that, it'll probably be we'll probably see it again once the motor's ready to drop in. Hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, let me know what you think.